Hello team, hello everyone, welcome. Welcome to Orientation. My name is Humaira Fasiuddin and I am the founder and co-director of the University Innovation Fellows Program.
Hi everyone, my name is Leticia Britos Cabañaro. Along with Humaira, I started this program and I'm its co-director.
Hello everyone, my name is Laurie Moore. I'm the communications director and I'm so excited to get to know all of you.
Hello all, I am Lupe and I am the program manager. I'm so excited to see you all.
Hey all, this is Ghanshyam here. I'm the India program manager. Nice to work with you all.
Great, today we're going to talk to you about our purpose, why we're all here. We're going to be talking with you about the people involved. Who are we? Who will you be working with? We're going to be talking about the place where you'll be meeting your new community and process. What's training? What comes afterwards? What will it all be like? So feel free to use the chat here on Zoom throughout the call to ask questions. We'll answer them at the end. And please make sure that you remain muted so that we can keep the noise to a minimum. And if you're calling from a phone, then you can also mute and unmute just by pressing *6. Okay, so let's start with our purpose, our why as the Fellows Program. Why are we empowering students to be the change they want to see? Our nations and our communities are facing great economic and societal challenges that need innovative solutions. And students graduating from colleges and universities need to be equipped to tackle those challenges. Now, we believe schools can be better preparing today's students for with that knowledge and with those skills and those mindsets. And we believe that all students need this kind of training, not just those interested in entrepreneurship and innovation, but also those who are going to be joining companies or being leaders in their community. Now, your schools and many schools have made great strides to instill these kinds of values and instill new programs and courses that bring this about, but we could all be doing better. And the good news is that we've found a great strategy to achieving that change, and that's you. Students can achieve great change partnering with their institution and experiment and introduce new learning opportunities that can reach hundreds, if not thousands, of other students. So that's what this movement is all about. And we're counting on you to put your best effort forward to become a University Innovation Fellow and lead such a movement on your campus.
And let me tell you a little bit about how the program started. So this program started 7 years ago. Stanford got a grant from the National Science Foundation of the United States to promote innovation and entrepreneurship in universities nationwide. And so this program started as the student strategy of part of that grant. And it has really evolved and grown exponentially beyond the end of that grant to be the movement that it is today. And today we're part of the Hasso-Plattner Institute of Design at Stanford, which we affectionately call the D.school. And let me tell you that the D.school is a really, really special place because it brings together students and faculty from all disciplines to learn the mindsets and skills to be innovators and entrepreneurs and change agents. And not only Stanford students, from people from industry, K-12 educators, civic innovators, and people from all different sectors and from all over the world. And when you are launched as fellows, you will join this global family. To date, we have trained almost 2,000 fellows from over 250 schools from 21 countries and counting. We're not even counting the new countries that are joining in this cohort, in your cohort. So, you know, you heard from Humaira, we started with the why. And knowing your why is important, reflecting on your purpose. And we asked you about this when you signed up for NovoEd. Why do you want to join the UIF movement? So during this call, in order to make it more interactive and hear from you, and then you can see and hear what other candidates' whys are, we're going to use a tool called Poll Everywhere. So I'm just going to share my screen, and I'm going to give you a way for you to answer this question. So give me 1 second here, and you'll see in a second. Here we are. So if you, with your phone or in your computer, go to pollev.com//UI fellows, that's pollev.com/UI fellows, you'll see this question: why do you want to join the UIF movement? Again, we ask you to post that on Novoed, but let's hear some of your answers here so that everyone can get inspired. So we'll give you a few moments to answer, because they told me to. Okay. Okay. Okay, we're seeing some of the answers come in. And we're seeing that there's people who have like great intrinsic motivation to create change, to inspire others, in order to maximize the impact on the ecosystem. And by the way, I'm reading some of these because I know that some of you might be joining on a phone and might not be seeing this. By the way, we will be recording this, as we mentioned. I love to be part of something great. And yes, this is something great. And Adobe wants something to do with my computer. All right. Okay. Okay, so we have seen some, we see some here, some other answer related to, oops. There's something, my computer is not happy with me this morning, so apologies for that.
It looks like the number 1 right now is innovation, and then the number 2 said something like, in order, what was it? In order to maximize my impact on the Earth ecosystem.
Yeah, that's pretty great. So yeah, thank you for answering that. I'm going to now pass it on to Lupe to talk about people.
Hello, everyone. The people in our community are what make this program special. To start, we have our team. Each of our team members introduce themselves at the beginning. We're a small but mighty team, like superheroes. We have superpowers too. Mine is taking care of everyone. I enjoy connecting and nurturing others. Humera, what is yours?
So I can see the world through fellows' eyes, through students' eyes. Don't ask me how I do it, but I can. How about you, Lori?
Mine is coming up with really, really weird ideas during brainstorming sessions. Leticia, what about you?
I'm really good at making connections, connecting people with other people and people with ideas and ideas with ideas. That's my superpower. G, what about you?
For me, it's keeping everyone on time. So when you're doing the connection, Humera is looking through the eyes, I keep everyone on time.
The very mighty superpower.
And let's hear about your superpowers. And as you guys are really fast, because some of you already saw that was the next question. And so we already have some answers here. So I'm just gonna share my screen to see some of your superpowers, which are pretty amazing. So let's see what we have here. I'm gonna move to the next question. Let's see, great. All right, so let's see some of the superpowers. I was looking at my phone. Okay, wait, we have lots of change agents who have the superpower of making a difference. Collaboration, super important. You will be working in teams. Empathy, key thing, key way of looking at the world and skill. Procrastination, that probably is one of my secondary superpowers, knowing when to procrastinate, because you never know when those ideas are going to hit you, right? Like, so you have to kind of like also go slow, working hard, connecting people, staying positive and inspiring people to be their best version. Late night productivity. I'm sure we have some night owls, like we say here in the US, and some like early birds. Make friends with anyone. That's a really impressive superpower.
As you see, we have one that says, I can lick my elbow at the bottom.
Oh, that's giving you a run for your money, Lori, right? Like, because
Yeah, Lori.
we can do that. I don't know if you want to show.
No, I don't. We might, whoever this is, find me at the meetup. We'll have an elbow flexible contest.
Yeah, we have some leadership superpowers, logic thinking, organization. We have lots of empathy. I love that. Goal-oriented management, eating lots of pizza. I mean, you're on my team. We can eat.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for sharing. And by the way, we will share all of these with you at the end of the call. So add yours if you haven't already. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and, oops, give me 1 second.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shall I get going? Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
so we can't understate the importance of the student and faculty relationship, and we want to set expectations that will, benefit the two. So your faculty champions are vital members of this community. They do so much more than sponsor students. We used to actually call them faculty sponsors, and we're like, why are we doing that? They're so much more than sponsors. They're your mentors, they're your colleagues, they're your advocates, they're your partners in crime, as I like to say. And we have 3 tools in support of faculty champions. First is an at-a-glance roadmap. It's large, 11 by 17, designed to be printed and hung up on their bulletin board, close at hand, so that they can see, all right, what are my candidates working on this week, and how can I help them, and when are things due? And then the next thing is a detailed roadmap. And this is like a 16 some odd page PDF that is, as the name implies, detailed with tips for candidates, tips for faculty from other faculty champions, and then session by session gives faculty champions an idea of what you're working on and how they can be helpful and what tips other faculty champions can share. So we found these to be so helpful that we decided that they're actually should be shared with the candidates themselves. So we shared these with you, and they're on NovoEd, and you'll get it. And it's the closest thing you're going to get to a syllabus. So enjoy. And the other thing we have for faculty champions is a closed Facebook group. I know what you're thinking, Facebook, what a drag, but actually Facebook is very vital to our fellows community because a lot of us still use it. And also it's just one less place that you have to go check for information. It's a really a thriving community where lots of information is posted. So both on the faculty champion side as well as on the student side, of course. So you'll get more information about that in the future. And faculty, look for an email in your inbox in the next day with a recording of this session, but also with the roadmaps that I just described. Over to you, G.
Thanks, Humera. Another important group of people are the UI guides. Fellows learn as much as possible from us, but more from other fellows as well. So we have found that many successful fellows and other fellows as mentors have helped people. So last year we launched the UI guides, a network of experienced fellows who will mentor you and your cohort, starting with your program interviews, through training, and even after the launch. Most of you should have already met your UI guides by now. During the training, you need to check in with your UI guides on a weekly basis. And know the point here, it's ensure that you're meeting your UI guides as soon as possible, preferably before Monday, so that you can present to them each week's assignment and get their feedback. This is very important in regards to your design thinking. landscape canvas, strategic priority, and storytelling assignments. And they will help to ensure that you're on track for your launch. Note that these people are not there to hover over you, but they are here to ensure that you are working hard to become a thought leader. They provide you different perspectives, feedback on your ideas, and help point you to non-obvious insights that can make an impact on your campus. Laurie?
Thank you, G. So we talked about people. Now we want to talk a little bit about place. So place is a really important part of our program. There are the places where we live, where we're all from, and there are places where we come together. So here is where the 5 of us are actually located. We're spread out just like all of you are. Going from left to right, we've got Leticia and Lupe. They're in California at Stanford University. I live in Connecticut. Humera lives in Massachusetts, and Ganesham lives in India. And these little UIF markers with the UIF bug are where all of our fellows are located, all of our current fellows. And we have nearly 400, I think, Ganesham, what was the new number? How many students do we have in this cohort?
380 plus.
380. So we can't wait to add all of you to this map as soon as you become fellows. So you'll be one of these little dots yourselves. So that's a physical place, but we also, because we live in so many places, we have to have a digital place to come together. So you're starting to become familiar with this platform. This is called Zoom. You'll use this to connect with your UI guide throughout training. You use this for your interviews. Also, each school should have already received a link to a Zoom room of your own. You can use that at any time for your meetings. It's not recorded, it's not moderated. This is for you all to just jump in together and have a meeting if you can't meet in person. And you can keep this Zoom room for as long as you want during training. And the other platform that you're beginning to become familiar with is NovoEd, which is our training platform. There we'll post sessions and resources, you'll work on assignments, and that's what we use during training. There are also some forums for community discussions that you can use to post questions and answer others' questions, which is really helpful for connecting all of us, since we can't get together in person for a little while longer. And Leticia is going to tell us a little bit more about those in-person places.
Yeah, so there's lots of opportunities for you to get together with other fellows from your cohort, from previous cohorts, with us. One of these is the iconic Silicon Valley Meetup. The meetup this year will be held March 19 to 23rd, 2020. And don't worry, we'll give you all of this information in writing. At the meetup, at the Silicon Valley Meetup, we'll spend time at Google headquarters, at Stanford, at the D.school and beyond, and at other places in Silicon Valley. In order to attend the meetup, you have to demonstrate that you continue to be active after the training. So it's not that you go through the 6 weeks of training and you're done, right? That is setting up for getting the change in your schools, right? Like, so you have to demonstrate that you're getting traction, that you continue with your projects, that you continue learning what works, what doesn't work. And about 2 months after your launch, this is mid-December, we'll ask you to share a short update on your campus project. This will be an individual update from each of you. Even if you're working on joint projects with other fellows at your school, we want to hear from each one of you. And if you demonstrate that you have traction, that you're learning, we'll send you an invitation to attend the meetup by the end of December. For the meetup, your universities are responsible for funding your flights, transportation to and from the airport, and your lodging. And then we'll take over and take care of everything else. And yes, faculty champions are welcome to attend with their fellows. And of course, as I said, we'll share more details about the meetup soon. So G, over to you.
Yep, it's not just the Silicon Valley meetups. You will also have opportunity to attend regional meetups, which are hosted by fellows at their schools. So until now, fellows have held 18 regional meetups in the US and internationally. We co-host these events to showcase different regions, highlight the host fellows' activities, and help attendees learn new skills to take back to their schools. There is a regional meetup upcoming in Wichita State University from September 13th to 15th. Later this week, you will get an invite from NovoEd. All candidates, fellows, faculty champions, and even non-fellows from your school are invited. So this is an opportunity where you can get your friends to attend, to know how meetups are done and what people can learn from these meetups. So in addition to all these program events, we also attend different conferences and workshops throughout the year. In these conferences, whenever we present in these conferences, we always travel with fellows who have great stories of change, so that they can they can talk about the impact they are having at their school. We have presented in events like South by Southwest in Austin, in Google Developer Days in India. Leticia, you want to share more places?
Sure. So we share some of the places that you might go with us or to meet other fellows, but we want to learn more about your place. What's special about your school? So again, if you go to polev.com UI Fellows, you can share with us what's special about your school. So let's see some of the responses. And I'm going to move to the next question in a second. Here we go. We have already some like fast responders. We have the entrepreneurial spirit, a school that has a brand new engineering building that's super exciting. Having a Chick-fil-A on campus. I mean, like, you know, food is always something that gets to people's hearts. Liberal arts education, lateral thinking and confidence. And one thing that I should say in general, in some schools, for instance, you have to go abroad. The X Labs, that's probably our friends from JMU. We have the largest student-run philanthropy in the world. How amazing is that? So one thing that is really interesting is that being part of the movement, you get to learn about what's going on in other schools, right? And that's really unique. You get to be in this community where you're learning what other schools are doing, and you can get inspired. You can share what your school is doing that is special, because we all need to lift our boats, all boats, and really improve higher education. And so this is something that is really special. Finds you with nature. Okay, so we have some like campuses that are really embedded in nature, a huge student base. And this is something that you'll notice as well. We have schools that are like large schools, other like small, private, public, all sorts of schools are part of this network, and this is pretty amazing. So now I'm gonna stop sharing. I'm gonna pass it on to Mara to talk about process.
Awesome. So process, what can you expect from training? So we used to not do this. We used to not release all of the sessions at once. We used to sort of like reveal one after another and after another. And we realized that you are so much better off if we release them all at once. So you can look ahead and manage your time better. And so you're going to see that when you go into Novoed later today. We haven't released them as of right now, but just in a few, I would say look back in another couple of hours, and you'll see that all of them are live. And as G mentioned, your deliverables are due each week on Thursday, midnight Eastern. And what we cannot emphasize enough is that you're gonna wanna meet with your UI guides on a weekly basis. Come up with a common time that works for all of you. Use the Zoom link that we gave you and meet with them, not just so that they can ensure that you're on the right track, but also because they are a great thinking partner. They've been through all of this before. They've been assigned to your campus because they have some unique knowledge and familiarity with the problems that you might face on campus. They don't have all the answers, but they are thought leaders already and have been around the block. So you're gonna want their advice. And we carefully handpick them for you. So make sure to, we're gonna send you information about that session on a Thursday. And sorry, I think it's Friday. So the session closes on Thursday. You'll get information about the next session on Friday. You can work on that over the weekend with your team, if you're on a team, and plan to have it done by the weekend and be in touch with your UI guide. That gives you 3 days before it's due with us on Thursday. So a couple of things we mentioned. The landscape canvas takes a lot of work to research everything on your campus. there will be assets and programs and courses you had no idea existed, perhaps because they're not really marketed well, perhaps because they're not available to you as an engineering student or you as a business student, but they exist and they could be available to you. So you're going to want to get cracking right away. You're going to want to talk with people and leave no stone unturned. Do a lot of web research. So get started on that. Go, flip through and get to the campus landscape session in NovoEd so you can understand what's required and get started this week. Also, we want you to get started planning the details of your stakeholder meeting. That's going to be taking place in week 6. What is a stakeholder meeting? It's exactly like it sounds. You're gathering all the people that you're encountering through your landscape research. Who are the movers and shakers in innovation and entrepreneurship? Who are the people in this ecosystem, whether they know it or not? Perhaps it's a biology teacher that's teaching a project-based learning class, very highly experiential, all about innovation in environmental sciences, and they don't really see themselves as part of the innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem. Well, you know that they are, and the stakeholder meeting is a great way to bring together not only leaders who care about I&E, as we call it, innovation and entrepreneurship, I&E, who care about I&E on your campus, but also those people who don't see themselves as part of the ecosystem, but ought to. And you have a hand in bringing everyone together. So the stakeholder meeting takes place in week 6. Get started now. Rooms can be hard to find on some of your campuses. Secure a room, find a time. Maybe there's a meeting that's already taking place that you can dovetail. So there's a whole page on this in NovoEd that you can find and learn about. And the sooner you get started, the better off you're going to be in having a very effective stakeholder meeting. So the other thing we would like you not to do is don't forget to visit the orientation page. We have an activity that we've designed for you to get to know your faculty champion. It's a really nice way to get to know one another. So do that this week. And also make sure that you establish with your faculty champion a time to connect during the week so that you're not showing up on week 6 saying, here's what we've done. No, this is stay in touch with them weekly. The other thing I want to mention is that Friday is the kickoff for session 1. As I mentioned, we are releasing all of the sessions today, but we don't really expect that you'll get started with the first session's assignment until Friday. So we'll send you a note then, and it's called Inspiration Week, and you'll learn the importance of inspiration for not only yourself, but also your peers, and find it in unsuspecting places and in unsuspecting ways. All right, so that's it for process for now. We will be sending you weekly emails through NovoEd. So again, make sure you're getting onto NovoEd, because after a while, you'll stop getting emails from us. They'll only be coming through NovoEd. That's for students, not for faculty. Over to you, Leticia.
Yes, and all of the required assignments from all the 6 weeks, you have to complete them by midnight Eastern time on Thursday, October 17th. Again, all of these dates will be shared with you in a way that you can easily remember. In order to complete the training to become a fellow, you have to complete all of the assignments by Thursday, October 17th. And we will send out emails letting you know that you've become a fellow a week after that, on Friday, October 25th. So that's gonna be an exciting day. One more thing about the training deliverables. Some of them are meant to be done as individuals, and some as a leadership circle, right? So those who are meant to be done with your leadership circle, that's an opportunity to also learn beyond what's the task at hand, to learn to collaborate and to be a high-functioning team, which you'll need to do when you're tackling such an important mission like creating the change that you want to see on your campus. And one last thing about the deliverables and the training in general, which I think is the most important thing to keep in mind. This is not just a bunch of tasks for you to check off. It's like, oh, I just did that one, right? We have designed these experiences for you to dive in and learn by doing, and adding a bunch of resources for you to dig deeper. The more you put into it, the more you'll get out of it. Now, Some topics might already be familiar to you, right? Like we have such a diversity of schools that some schools, of course, might have some classes that overlap with some of the training. If that's the case, we challenge you to challenge yourself to go far beyond where you are today, right? You always have to be learning, right? You cannot say, oh, I already know that. Well, how can you be better at that? How can you teach others, help others, perhaps that are working with you, other fellows, other candidates at your schools or beyond, right? You can always learn, and that's a really important thing. But it's on you, right? Lori, what happens after October 25th?
So what happens after that date is on Monday, October 28th. It's my favorite day, which is the public-facing launch day. So this is the day that the secret is out, and you can start telling everyone about your new role as a fellow, because on that day, what we'll do is we send a customized email and a press release to each of your school's communications office announcing that you've joined this global community of fellows. And that way your communications officers can write about you. They can put you on the homepage, like these Morgan State students. They can share the news on Facebook and social media. And having this kind of visibility, whatever it may be, will help you attract other people to your movements and get the word out about the kind of things that you're doing on campus. We find this to be very valuable, and it's very exciting too. And then, so that week, the week of October 28th, we will also mail a pinning kit to your faculty champion. This will be a little white box, lovingly hand packaged by the UIF team, and that will contain a UIF pin, which you can see here on the bottom left. It'll contain a UIF t-shirt for all of you, and some instructions on how your faculty champion can hold a pinning ceremony for you. And this is another way to put a spotlight on your efforts on campus. And you can see an example from JMU, James Madison University, on the top left with their president. And so these are two different ways that we like to shine a spotlight on all the hard work that you've done as part of training and get some attention for all the work that on all the amazing things you're going to do after you become a fellow. And Ganesha, I'm going to turn it over to you next.
Thank you, Lori. We know we have presented a lot of information for you to absorb, but here are our expectations from you during training and beyond. Stay engaged throughout the 6 weeks of training and submit your assignments on time. This will help you keep up and manage the workload of the program. It doesn't become, like towards the end, it doesn't become too much time consuming. Communicate with us. That's the best way to keep us updated about any situations. Like if you need an extension on a deadline, just let us know and what's happening, and we will take care of it. If we know what's happening, that will also help us to work with you. Next important thing is communicate. Communicate with your team of candidates, communicate with your earlier fellows, communicate with your faculty champions, your UI guides. We are all here to help. And finally, complete all your requirements of the training so that we can launch you as fellows. That's what we are looking for. We'll be tracking your progress. Lupe, over to you.
Thank you, Jim. The last and very important piece we want to leave you with is the Fellows Community Agreements. These are shared norms that allow our community of fellows to thrive. Number one, be present and bring your whole self to everything you do. To us, this means that passion and purpose comes first. This sets the stage for a culture of respect for one another. The Fellows community is built on the ideas and the passion we bring to changing higher education. Number two, give yourself permission to push your own boundaries. We work to break down barriers and assumptions and get you comfortable with ambiguity. We also encourage a culture of experimentation and failure. Number three, make others look good. The Fellows community is all about building others up, whether it's someone else's ideas or personal confidence. It's helping others celebrate all successes, no matter how big or small, because in return, others will do it for you too. If we all follow these three agreements, we'll create a learning environment and community that will help everyone feel comfortable sharing ideas and find successes in this program. These community agreements are posted on NovoEd, so you can continually remind yourself of them. Now, I'll kick it over to Leticia.
Thank you, Lupe. So we know that's a lot of information that we share with you. Again, we will share it in multiple ways, in roadmaps, in Novoed, in emails, so that you have it at hand. But now we want to open it up to you for your questions. I'll read out loud some of those on the phone. We're going to use the chat, the Zoom chat window for that. So if you're able, or if you haven't already, some of you have from the beginning, post your questions, and we'll choose some that we can answer now. And if we don't have time or it's a long answer, we'll do that in Novoed later. But let's see, I'll moderate and I'll ask the team to help answer these questions. Let's see, we have here from Amir, we have, how should we introduce ourselves as a team? It is okay to say we're UIF candidates and we're going to do such and such, or should we introduce ourselves as UIF team? Anyone want to take that question?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind doing that. If you're on a campus and are being trained alongside other students, you most definitely are a team. What we refer to it as is a leadership circle, and you'll be working in collaboration with one another. That doesn't mean that you're doing the same projects necessarily, although you might want to. And a lot of leadership circles have had great fun working with one another and supporting one another. It's really quite transformational to have a team that's not competitive, it's not a part of your coursework, so it's actually kind of nice. But yes, you can say, I'm a candidate, I'm a part of a team, a leadership circle on my campus. I'm not yet a fellow. If I successfully complete my 6-week training, then I'll be launched as a fellow sometime towards the end of October.
Mm-hmm. Homer, I'm going to ask you to, answer this related question from Nathan Dinkley. What if I'm the only one in my UIF cohort this year? Any advice, any thoughts on fellows who are just on their own?
Some of our best, most successful fellows have been solo fellows. And they're oftentimes first-time fellows on a given campus. Why? Because the campus isn't at all used to what's about to happen, and they have no expectations of you as a student becoming a thought leader and really understanding the ecosystem and proposing some changes and making it happen. Collaboration takes work, of course. It has great rewards, but as a solo fellow, you can move fast and go in the direction that you really want to go in. So don't worry about being a solo fellow. There are pros and cons to both. I'm sure your UI guide is going to be a great advisor to you. So no big deal. You'll be fine.
Mm-hmm. We should, there's a couple of questions about faculty champions and how access to Novoed and how do they know what the fellows are learning. We should say that there is, after this hour, we'll have half an hour with the faculty champions, so we can go over some of the questions that they have. But just as a kind of like quick answer to that, the faculty champions do not get access to Novoed, right? Like, we want the fellows to drive their learning. However, it's crucial that they communicate with their faculty champion, and the faculty champion does get the roadmap that includes, summarizes what's included week after week. So Homera is showing that there the roadmap, which we'll share. But that's the quick answer. We can talk more with the faculty champions afterwards. There is a question, an interesting question about, have fellow candidates in the past earned credit for this training course? I know we have some examples of that.
Yeah, so fellows don't, for their training, fellows don't get credit from us. Some campuses have made a course out of the UIF program and training, and the jury is still out on that as far as we're concerned. On the one hand, you get some kind of credit, and the institution gets some kind of compensation in a sense, right? Because you're paying tuition. But on the other hand, in some scenarios, we've seen that people have taken the class and then they've gone away. They don't actually take seriously the job of making change on campus. And that completely defeats the purpose of what this is about. So if you think that you could address that problem by offering credit, but also sustaining the commitment that once a fellow, always a fellow. You're even after the training, you're going to continue to make change, and the real traction actually starts happening in the semesters that follow, even leading up to graduation. And some of our fellows are active even after they graduate. So that's what I'd say about making it a for-credit class. You're going to get much more reward beyond credit. So that's what I would say about that.
Mm-hmm. There's a question from Sanjana. Can we start conducting activities on campus as UIF candidates before undergoing the training fully? One thing that I would say, and then I'll ask others on the team to add as well, is that the training itself is active, right? It's not just like reading information, receiving information. You will be doing things as part of the training, right? Like, so that's, I think that's an answer. I don't know, team, you want to add anything to it?
So I'll just give the example of University of California, Fullerton. They were so inspired by week 3. They knew exactly what they wanted to create, and they got started on that right away. They almost didn't get launched from training because they started neglecting their week 5 and week 6 assignments. We really need those to be in place because when we shine a big spotlight on you and issue a press release from Stanford and all that stuff, we need your deliverables to be ready and polished and looking good. But they got started on it right away. In fact, they had to miss their first meetup because of events they created through this new organization they started called Sync, amazing organization. And they came to the meetup the following year. So yes, there's a bias towards action. Yes, there's a lot of work. We're asking you to prototype real solutions, but you can get started right away. So we love seeing that.
There's a couple of questions about Eastern Hemisphere meetup and whether it's scheduled. I should say as context, and G, I'll ask you to take that question. As context for those who might not know what that is, in the past 2 years, we did an experiment in which we, in addition to doing the Silicon Valley meetup, we did a meetup in the Eastern Hemisphere. We did one in Bangalore in India, and we did one in Dubai and Abu Dhabi just this April. It feels like it's been a while, but it was just this April. And we did many of the activities that we would do in the Silicon Valley meetup, but on those other contexts. And it was a really successful experiment. G, do you want to add anything about those experiences and the future?
Yeah. So as Leticia mentioned, the EHM for both the years, the Eastern Hemisphere meetup was an experiment we did, and for the upcoming year, we have decided that we will not be conducting any Eastern Hemisphere meetup specifically, because as a team, when we are replicating the same kind of experience in 2 places, we found that rather than doing the same things twice, we can dedicate our time to one meetup and give a better experience. So we are trying to enhance the Silicon Valley meetup experience itself. So there would be only one meetup for next year. Yes, there could be regional meetups which could happen in international places in different countries, but as meetup from our team, like it would be only Silicon Valley meetup, no Eastern Hemisphere meetup for 2020.
Great, thank you, G. Lori, what is your answer to this question? Where is it? Now I lost it, but I'll just paraphrase. So how can we clarify our doubts in the middle of training? Who should they go to?
That's a good question. If you're worried about an like something logistical, like how to submit something, where you're worried about, you could be worried about an actual assignment, like the content. One good first place I would go to is your UI guide to check in with that person. You can also go on the forum. There is a forum post on NovoEd called Ask Me Anything that we are as a team all check. So if it's more of a logistical question or a technical question, feel free to ask us there. But I would say if you're beyond any doubt, ask your UI guide. If it's more of a question about like, you're not sure how to overcome an obstacle on campus, so there's something campus related you're not sure about, talk to your faculty champion. That person's going to be a great resource for you. But I would say during training, talk to your UI guide. They're there to help and they'll be really happy to hear from you. Mm-hmm. I also just want to add a quick note. There are a couple of regional meetup questions. There was one that says, can we attend regional meetups that are not in the region of our university? Yes, you may attend any regional meetup anywhere on the planet. And we will send you an email whenever there's a regional meetup coming. When you've been launched as fellows, we also publicize these on the UIF Facebook group, but we will notify you of any upcoming regional meetups. As Ganesha mentioned, we have one coming up in the middle of September at Wichita State University, that's in Kansas. And then also I believe in December, we have one planned in Chile. And I believe we also may have one in Virginia, Humera, in November. So we'll alert you to those, but we have a couple of opportunities coming up this fall for you to gather in person even before the meetup in March.
And by the way, you can attend those regional meetups before being launched as fellow, right? Like, so as candidate, and we have seen that working really well when candidates, start going to regional meetups.
And if you have a friend who's like, what is this UIF thing? Bring them along. We'd love to have them.
Mm-hmm. So the other question, Lori, that you can help me with is, do we submit deliverables as videos, photos, text files, any other formats?
So that's a good question too. All of the deliverables, whatever the format, will be mentioned in the session. The session will actually say, here's how you should submit it. Sometimes they're forum posts. There's a video that's part of your session 6. So the deliverable type will be included in each session. And if you have any questions about it, find us in the Ask Me Anything forum, but it should be pretty clear at the end of each session.
Great, thank you. Humera, can you help me with this one? How have teams raised money to attend meetups in the past?
Well, we have advised your faculty champions, as they've even considered this program, to set aside a budget for you to attend the meetup. Sometimes they don't have the budget just yet, and they get started with nominating a team of students. That may be the case. So first, I would say check with your faculty champion. Maybe they've already set aside a budget. Second, I would say if they haven't, don't fret. There are always sources of funding on campus, even though campuses are under a lot of financial duress in the last several years. They're under duress for normal operations things. This doesn't necessarily fit in the normal operations kind of things. And it turns out that a lot of deans have access to discretionary funding that is given to them by alumni and other things that they have for special projects, just like this. And a lot of those alumni really, if they're wealthy enough to donate to their alma mater and your department, it's because they've been entrepreneurial, most likely, and successful because they value innovation and entrepreneurship, and they want that for their school. They wish they had it when they were at school. So you can really appeal to entrepreneurial alumni to utilize those that source of giving. And frankly, you all are very entrepreneurial people. You will find sources of funding on your campus to go make something like this happen. It's not completely within the realm of possibility that fellows have taken that out of their own pocket. That's happened before as well. But students don't have a lot of money. We know that. So try to find sources of funding on your campus or through alumni.
Great. Humera, I'd like you to take this one as well. Could you please explain, this question is from Jose Pavon, and I think it's really important because it goes to the sustainability of the movement. Could you please explain how does it work when we get traction and people want to join the program? Do we choose our successors? Do they have to apply again?
So anyone entering the Fellows program has to apply again. Yes, that would be a new cohort that your campus would nominate. Your faculty champions would submit a joint application just as you just did with them. And there would be, and it's the same price, $4,000 for up to 4 students. Hopefully you will have shown them how valuable it is for their campus, because they will make it up substantially when it comes to new courses, new programs, new activities, engaged students, visibility with alumni, visibility in the region. You know, some fellows have been taken to government leaders and have secured millions of dollars from an alumni to, you know, build buildings. So you're going to prove out that it's valuable, and institutions that want more innovation and entrepreneurship, more interdisciplinary learning across departments, want more collaboration from departments because they're so siloed on campus, they make a commitment to nominating the next group of fellows. We want for you to be active in spotting the kind of person who you think would do well in this role. Someone who cares about others, cares about their school, isn't in it for their own network, isn't in it for their own entrepreneurial venture, but really wants to make a difference. That kind of student, the student you trust is going to do what they say they're going to do. You know that best, better than faculty champions even. So make sure that your faculty champions are recognizing that you are there, that you have candidates in mind, and work with them as a team to getting another cycle of fellows when your campus is ready. That might be next year, that might be in 2 years, depending on when you're going to graduate.
Mm-hmm. There's a question from Avital Abraham. Do you think it's helpful to assign roles within the leadership team? I'll take a stab at that, and if anyone wants to add, I think it's really important that you're thinking about this, and everyone should be thinking about this, right? Like, how are you going to work as a team? Now, division of labor, assigning roles, is only one part of it, right? But there's so much more than that. And perhaps like you assign roles for a given, part of the work together, but then those roles are fluid, right? And you are evaluating how those work, right? Like, and so you have to, learn how you're better working together, right? Like, so, and what it takes, right? So I think that the self-awareness and like really being constantly treating your working as a team as an important part of the process is what matters. Not just assigning roles. That could be one thing that you try, but also learning how your teammates work best, right? Like, what can you do to help your teammates work at their best, right? Because as Lupe mentioned in our community norms, right? Like, how can you build them up so that they will build you up in return? Anyone wants to add anything about teams?
I think it's important to recognize that in some cases you're going to be leading, and in other cases you're going to be following, and that dance that you have to do that's vital to you being an effective teammate. So keep in mind those community norms. They're in this video conference, but they're also in this packet. So revisit the page on tips for candidates.
Mm-hmm. There's a few questions that Lori has very graciously have been answering on the chat. For those of you who are on the phone, we will share the chat so you can see these questions, these answers. There's a question here. Well, we applied as a team. From now, each fellow candidate is on her own and responsible for completing their work, correct? At the end of the training, they can come up with individual projects or a group project, right?
No.
I want to clarify.
Yeah, I mean, you're going through training as a team. Some assignments are team assignments, some assignments are individual assignments, but as you get to those last few assignments, you have to work together and you have to come together as a good team, not just a team because we were thrown on this team and we just have to make it work. No, really try to work together, get to know one another, come to respect one another, value one another, and be a high functioning team. That's when you guys will really rock, because you'll get tremendous more benefit when you have a team of people that really care about you and lift you up, and vice versa. They care about you and will lift you up. So your projects are designed while you're in training. They're not after training. They're designed while you're in training. They're that you get advice from your UI guide during training on them. We review them as you're submitting them. Your faculty champion is looking over them as you're getting feedback. You're presenting them in the stakeholder meeting and getting feedback from the broader ecosystem. If at any point you're getting severe pushback on that, or doubt or skepticism, or like, hey, this project is really neat, but you're talking about a $10 million building. I think it's a little outside of the scope of what you can accomplish in 2 years. That's really good feedback. So your project has to be somewhat achievable, and maybe it's a step in the right direction towards a bigger goal. So, but no matter what, plan to work with one another, get to know one another. You have to trust one another and have one another's back.
Mm-hmm. I think that some of the more like granular questions that I'm seeing will be answered once you see the training, the content of the 6 weeks, and that will become then clearer, and you can then ask more pointed questions as opposed to us trying to describe every week here. Team, is there any question that you've seen that I haven't called that you would like to answer?
I mean, there are a bunch of random questions. I'm just gonna just do my best to answer them quickly. Is there a Facebook group for the candidates? There is no Facebook group for the candidates, and please don't go ahead and create one, because you're going to have a new one you're added to in just 6 weeks time. The one that you really want to get added to is the one with 1,800 other students, where they've been around the block and they have resources and ideas, and they'll hear your challenges, and you'll be able to post to a larger community. Another question is, my campus set aside a fixed amount. It doesn't nearly cover the total amount of traveling to the meetup. Sorry about that. You're going to have to entrepreneurially figure out a way to bridge that gap. Work with them, work with your campus, and seek other sources of funding. There's a lot of questions about group projects and individual projects. As we mentioned, you're doing this together. It's better to work together. Teamwork makes dream work. It really is true. But that said, say you're a biomedical engineer and the other students are not, and you know that a course or a program specific to biomedical engineers would be really beneficial to your ecosystem, share that with the team. That's your team, that's your project. They'll come help you potentially as needed, and then you'll go help them as needed. So you have to keep an open mind going in. I know you already have a ton of ideas about what's broken and what could use fixing. But keep an open mind, because this process is going to help you leave no stone unturned. And together you can rock, to use that stone rock pun again. So that's what I've got for you now. I think, yeah, G.
Yeah, Humaira, there's one more question. Can we include students from other universities in our city into our program to spread our work into other campuses? That's a question from David.
That's a great question, David. What I would say to you is, just like any job you would take on, start first with the job at hand. Start with your current campus, your current department, your current ecosystem, your current team. Make a difference there, and then start to move outward. You're going to find that once you make a difference in your own campus, there's going to be more that you can fix, more that you can introduce, and there's going to be a lot to do. But yes, a lot of fellows have been called on by other academic institutions to come help, by K through 12, primary schools to come teach entrepreneurship and innovation to young kids, you're going to find that you cannot get this out of you. You're going to be changed in ways that you have no idea. So definitely keep that on your horizon, but you're not going to be launched as a fellow or considered a great fellow at all if you don't start first with your own ecosystem.
We have 1 minute left. I just wanted to clarify something that Jaylene Phillips was mentioning with respect to a question that was asked about, like, the deliverables that will be all released today. And Jaylene is saying it's today, but they don't expect us to start working on them until Friday. One thing that is important is that we're releasing all of 6 sessions so that you can manage your own time, right? Like, because we know that some people will have, heavier loads of at school in certain weeks, so that you can manage your own time. So don't think about this as like, oh, okay, great, I'll wait until Friday to start doing something. Look at what's there and see where you can start, right? Like, and keep your own pace, right? That will make you more successful. All right, so we're on time. Again, if you have other questions, please post them on the NovoEd Ask Me Anything forum. But it's been really exciting to see, all of your faces, in the speaker view, even if we cannot hear your voices, but we heard from some of you via Poleb. And I'm really looking forward to meeting you in person pretty soon.
Yeah, and just in closing, candidates, being a change agent isn't just about doing a 6-week training. It's about implementing the projects that you'll be discovering were needed in the first place. And even after the meetup, it's expected that you'll be continuing to make an impact. You're going to find incredible reward doing this. And I can't describe how much you're going to learn. You're going to make a good employee. You'll be coveted by employers. So just, plan to become a change agent from here on in. All right, everyone.
Yeah.
So next, we're going to meet with the faculty champions for a half hour. You all, students, can go, and you'll hear from us in the next several hours with emails and access to the recording on NovoEd and all the various tools. You'll be able to see all the sessions. Everything will be at your fingertips. So thank you for coming. It was great to see you all.
Bye, everyone. Take care. All right, we'll wait a few minutes to get settled and then, have a chat with the faculty champions and answer your questions.
Okay. Yeah, I think we were initially at some 357 participants or so. We're down to how many now? 67. I think we're good. Let's get started. All right. So welcome, faculty champions. Some of you are just joining. I know a few of you said that you would only be able to meet at noon Eastern, and some of you have been here all along. Thank you for all of you for giving us a half an hour. So over this call, very short call, we're going to be talking about what it takes to be a great faculty champion. Actually you are a real secret ingredient in the making of fellows. They can't do this without you. We said that to them, but you need to know it as well. We know that, so we don't give you access to NovoEd because we need the students to be the protagonists here. We need them to know that they're in the driver's seat and they won't have anyone you know, hovering over them to make sure that they're doing their work. But we do give you the tools needed to know that they actually are doing their work. You know, aside from the fact that they've been assigned a mentor, a UI guide, who's really making sure week by week, we know that you'll be able to utilize the tools we've created to also know what's been done. And I mentioned this on the earlier call, but given that a few of you have just joined, there's the roadmaps, and these were designed with you in mind, and they were reviewed by previously trained, previous faculty champions, senior or seasoned faculty champions, if you will, people who have been doing this since our early days, 2012. So there's the at a glance one, the 11 by 17, very handy. I went to Madrid earlier in the summer, and it was on the wall of the faculty champion at IE University. That made me very proud. There's the more detailed roadmap, multiple pages. You can dog-ear them and just plan out the whole 6-week experience. It's chock full of information, and what I'll do is share my screen. But before I get into that, I'll mention that there's the roadmap. There's the closed faculty Facebook group. So we're going to send you an invite to your with the email of the recording of this whole call. You'll click on that link, and then we'll approve you to join. There's the veteran faculty champions. Many of them are on this call. They'll be at the Silicon Valley Meetup, and they actually hold a parallel track of different touch points and programming that allow you to learn from one another, brainstorm, and design new assets that can benefit all of you. Yes, and then we have a weekly email that goes out during training specifically. It tells you what the candidates have done the week prior, as well as what's coming ahead. So stay tuned. There's a lot it's chock full of information. Leticia, you gotta...
Yeah, I just wanted to add before we get into the details, something that for me, kind of like big picture, is important for you to look at all of this, of the details that we will share through that lens. And this is something that some of you who have been faculty champions for many years know and have discovered and worked at. And it is that the relationship between you as faculty champions and the fellows is very different than the relationship that you might have with students in your class or students who are working in your lab, right, and you're their advisor, right? Here, we are asking the students to be leaders of change, right? And you are their co-conspirators. You're working together with them, right? But it is this fine line of like letting the students lead and helping and removing obstacles, pointing them to resources, but letting them grow in their agency as leaders, right? Like, so that's a relationship that you have to figure out, right? Like, and every, you know, faculty champion and group of fellows relationship will be different, but it's something that you have to work at. And as I mentioned, we have faculty champions here who have worked many years to figure that out. And if you're new, it's gonna be an exciting thing for you to do, right? Like to discover this new kind of relationship and explore that, where that can take you or your institution, because that's the really exciting thing, right? Like this is about creating change at the institutional level, lasting change, and we're all in it together. You, the fellows, us, at your side as well. I remember one phrase from a faculty champion from a while back of like saying that he would latch on to a fast moving student, right? Like, so the students move at like a very fast pace. You might move at a different pace that is dictated by the, you know, constraints of the institution that you are part of, right? Like, so the combination, but you also have that continuity and that knowledge of a lot of things that the fellows don't. So the combination of the fellows' speed and kind of like, you know, not knowing what's not possible, and your wisdom, right? And your leadership, that's the magic, right? And find that magic. So that's what I wanted to add before we get into details. Humera, you're muted.
To build on that, I'll just say one other, one short thing. Like most faculty do not share their cell phone numbers or receive students' cell phone numbers and share them. That's most faculty-student relationships. That's my understanding of it, at least in most parts of the globe, especially. But with fellows, they are your partners in crime, and you will be producing things with one another and collaborating on creating things with one another. And so that's one of the first norms that changes in this kind of relationship. So plan to be sharing your cell phone numbers and being in close touch with them as they do this work and you do it with them. Okay, so let me share my screen and I will show you just a few pages of the roadmap. You will have an opportunity to look through this on your own. And so, there's the Gantt chart. The larger 11 by 17 is a much bigger view and gives more information on each of those sessions in an at-a-glance kind of way. But the detailed roadmap starts off with a light view of that. And so this is new because remember, this document was created only for faculty champions. And so we added tips for candidates. You can take a look at what we say to them. But we love these tips created by veteran faculty champions, tips for faculty champions. And, there's some great ones here. Be invisible, but discoverable, right? So you don't want to hover. They're not people who are working for you. So you don't want to create that power dynamic. And you don't want them to constantly be coming back to you for answers. So being invisible to some extent, but then easily discoverable, right? Because they don't know necessarily some of the roadblocks and constraints, or they don't know some of the resources that they might actually be able to tap. So provide the heartbeat, the rhythm. Oftentimes things can, this is a lot of work. Some people have equated it to, almost as much as one full class in terms of workload. And so the students oftentimes need a regular sort of like a rhythm, and you can be that heartbeat for just to make sure that they're keeping this top of mind if they aren't already. Advocating and enabling. Students, I love this one, get students close to the cliff. Nick Swain says this, but keep them from falling, right? They need to be able to understand and assess risk like we do in our working lives. And this is oftentimes the first time that they're doing something really real. But prevent them from, crashing and help them be successful. I think, and then moving on, each of the subsequent pages goes in deeper into every assignment. Inspiration Week is a kind of a fun but meaningful assignment.
Can you share your screen, Humera?
You should be able to see my screen, yes. Yep. Yeah, Laura, you can see it?
Yep. Okay.
Great. So it gives you an idea of what's the point of this, what are the candidates doing, and then how you can help. Any additional notes on, what's on the nuances, on things that are outliers. For instance, that first week we asked them to figure out the details of their stakeholder meeting, like the place they want to hold it, who they want to invite, the date, those kinds of things, so that they can begin planning. But there's a note here, if you've sponsored new fellows very recently and just held a stakeholder meeting, and you don't want to go back and show more projects without showing accomplishments, and maybe there are accomplishments, great. hold another stakeholder meeting, introduce the new fellows. If there aren't quite, project accomplishments to share, maybe you want to hold off just a bit. You're going to have to play that by ear. The stakeholder meeting is an important way to hold their feet to the fire. If they're not proclaiming what they see as challenges and what they want to solve, what's going to hold them accountable? Broadly proclaiming their projects is going to help them be self-accountable. So keep that in mind. The design thinking session and all that's required here, the landscape canvas. I mentioned the landscape canvas specifically earlier. There's a lot of work that goes into uncovering all that exists on your campus. You may know what all those things are, but oftentimes students go through all 4 years and have no idea that this asset existed or this program existed, and we're asking them from scratch, even if previously trained fellows have unearthed that already, we're asking them to create it from scratch, because there's nothing quite like discovering it for yourself. You may reveal to them, if there has been a previously trained set of fellows that has already conducted it, then you may reveal that to them afterwards, but we deliberately give them a blank slate so that they're doing it from scratch. Their strategic priorities, what 4 or 5 projects would be game changing, and what are the key milestones that they'll have to accomplish to get that done. Lean startup, we teach them the business model canvas because they need to understand that that's a part of the innovation and entrepreneurship movement that's taking place across the globe. But we teach it to them a little bit differently. We created a change model canvas. We are not looking at dollars and value creation and product market fit, but we're looking to something similar. We're looking for a different metric of success, maybe students empowered or aware of innovation and entrepreneurship. Maybe it's ventures created. Depending on the stakeholder you're talking with on campus, it's a different thing that matters to them. So we have them evaluate the campus using that lens. And we ask them to go talk one-on-one with stakeholders, right? Because you all know it's different to get into the head of a stakeholder one-on-one and get them to sort of understand what you're doing before bringing them all into a room. And so that's the difference between the stakeholder meeting where everyone's in a room. Hopefully they've already had one-on-one individual conversations with all of those people, and by the time they get them into one room, there's a lot more buy-in and support and enthusiasm for what the students are undertaking. And then there's storytelling. Sometimes the universities bring resources to bear on this, like a videographer, and they're really highly polished pieces. Sometimes they're super authentic student created videos. No matter what kind, there's a couple of important things to note here. The audience is not external. It's not people like us learning about your campus. The audience is internal, so that you're sharing with stakeholders that you haven't even found yet why this is important, what gaps the students observed, what projects they're wanting to undertake as University Innovation Fellows. That's the point of the video. And they should really prototype and hone that message before they videotape it and stitch it together and spend hours and hours creating a polished piece, only to find out that they missed a key point or they're off target. So we ask them to prototype it first and make sure you're asking to review that prototype first. And then launch, and all that's required for us and you to look at their work and launch them as Innovation Fellows the week between October 18th and 25th. One important thing I'll say is that halfway through training and at the end of training, all of your candidates and the primary faculty champions receive a team health update. You're going to get an email. Each one of your students will get an email in their inbox. It's a unique link that no one else can see, but they report on the health of the team. How am I doing as a candidate? How are my peers doing? Is someone not showing up, essentially slacking off and making the other students do all the work? This is our way to keep an eye on those kinds of situations and make sure that they're either addressed early or that those students don't get launched. A network of change makers is only as powerful as its weakest link. We cannot launch students if they're not doing the work and are not committed to this change. So we keep an eye on that. And so stay tuned for that email.
And just, a quick note to build on what Humera just said. We don't grade assignments and say, oh, we only launch people who get A's and B's. We launch, if people are doing good work, we launch them. When people are dropping out of training or really not involved in a team at all, that's when we don't launch them. But otherwise, if your students are doing really good work and they're contributing and they're working hard as a team, they'll become fellows.
Yes, and we count a lot on our UI guides word of advice, because they've been meeting with the team weekly and they have their own separate access to our system to review the assignments that the students are submitting and to make notations that we review and take very seriously.
Mm-hmm. Beyond that, or to add to the 6 weeks of online training, of course, something that many new faculty champions want to know about is the Silicon Valley Meetup and how does that work. And the Silicon Valley Meetup is really a part of the training. A lot of things crystallize there when they're in person, and we have designed the activities so that they build on what they have learned, and also on the work that they're have done since the finish of the 6 weeks of training, and propel them, giving them even more momentum moving forward after the meetup. It's a really amazing event. It's like life-changing, and we welcome the faculty champions to participate with their students. We think that really that's a great opportunity for you to cement that relationship as a team of change agents. And one thing that we want for the faculty champions who come to a meetup is that they participate fully. So when you come to the meetup, we are all learners. There's no hierarchies. You might be working with fellows from other universities at times, and we're all learners, and we want you to participate fully and not feel that you're there just as the chaperones or keep making sure that they're safe. No, you're all in, right? And if you're up for that, we really want to have you here in March. I think we should open it to questions. We have 8 minutes left.
And I think before we do that, we also wanted to hear from, I think Mary's on the line. I don't know if Miriam is as well, in case they have anything to build on what we've mentioned, because they are some of our longest running faculty champions.
Yeah. Any wisdom?
Actually, hang on one second. Let me find Mary and unmute her. Mary?
Hello.
Hello.
Sorry, I didn't have anything prepared to say, but I'll just jump in and say this is quite the adventure. For those of you that are new to UIF, just fully embrace it and enjoy the ride along with the students. And for those that are veterans like me, we're all here to help the whole community. So the new folks should feel free to reach out to any of us anytime if you have questions.
And I should add that Mary, along with other faculty champions who have had fellows for multiple years, how many years have you had fellows?
Oh gosh, I don't know, 6 maybe, 5, 6. Wow. Yeah.
So Mary and others have been instrumental in during the Silicon Valley Meetup, creating some instances that are for faculty only. So a few touch points where you leave the students, doing other things, and you get together and share some of your struggles, some of your successes, and Mary and others have been instrumental in that. So thank you, Mary.
Yeah, we also have some questions. Okay, so when is the meetup? The meetup is March 19th to 23rd. Thank you for asking that. Also, what's going on after the meetup? So the students continue not only executing on their projects, but also they ratchet it up a notch because they just learn so much more, and we give them additional tools and set higher expectations. They're going to learn from other previously trained fellows who come and speak and inspire them with their impact on campus. So it all gets amplified after the meetup and in the years that follow. We say once a fellow, always a fellow. And actually you can imagine if students say they're gonna do something and they do it, they get credibility on campus, and then more projects of greater importance and greater budgets and responsibility come their way. Another question is, how will we gain access to the roadmap and other resources? We send that to you by email. So in the next 24 hours, you'll get a video of a recording of this whole video, as well as a link to the roadmaps. So you can print it out and look at it digitally as well. If the stakeholder meeting, can we work on that earlier? Absolutely. Stakeholder meeting is usually, it's historically been in week 5. We suggested this time that it be in week 6 to give you a little bit longer, but it shouldn't be after that because we really want to see it done before launch. But earlier, yes, absolutely. You want it to be after their landscape canvas, and for the reasons I mentioned about stakeholders, you kind of sort of also want it to be after they've had some one-on-ones. But yes, you can have it earlier and take advantage of opportunities. If you know the president is already going to award something, or maybe there's a business plan competition or some kind of strategic thing that's already happening, dovetail that and see, you can get the same people in town and not away at a conference.
Michelle has a question about, fellows from different cohorts. And I was wondering, Mary, perhaps since you have had so many different cohorts, any advice on how should her as a faculty champion or the candidates involve fellows who are still on campus?
Sure. Well, much like the national or international program, once a fellow, always a fellow, and that's true at Michigan Tech. So we kind of maintain that relationship and team and have weekly or bi-weekly meetings throughout the semesters, and the veteran fellows are great resources to the younger ones, and they're continuing projects of their own. So it really kind of takes on a life of its own once you allow the students that freedom to do what they're able to do. It's amazing to watch what they're passionate about and what they're willing to take on.
Thank you, Mary. We have a couple of minutes. Any other burning questions? You won't have opportunity to ask anything after, no, kidding. You can always reach us, but
Oh, and I will, just a quick note on the documents we shared, the faculty roadmaps. Those are constant prototypes. We're always improving them based on your feedback. So if there's something that you want to know that's not on there, feel free to email any one of us, or you can reach out to us via the contact form on our website, or team@universityinnovation.org. But if there's something that you want to know, we'll answer your question, but we'll also include it in next year's guide. So please let us know if you have any feedback on that.
Yeah, and if there's any additional questions, of course you can post it in the chat window, but it's a small group too, so you could always raise your hand. There's only 2 minutes left, but if you want to say something, even if it's not a question, an affirmation. I see Vijaya there. Vijaya is patching in from India. She was in our awesome faculty video, as was Mary. And if you haven't,
we're sharing it. It's in the email that's coming out to them.
Yes.
We have a question from Todd. How do we see and provide support on the training deliverables? That is before they're submitted, I imagine, not after they're submitted. So
we're asking them to present their training deliverables before, on Thursday midnight. We're asking them to meet with their UI guides before they submit their training deliverables. And we're asking them a lot, right? We're asking them to meet together as a team. We're asking them to meet with their UI guide. We're asking them to meet with you, so they're going to have to manage their time. By submitting, they're simply adding it to a running list of pages, a running list where we can review that they've that they've given it to us. It doesn't mean that they cannot share it with you even after they've submitted it and adjust something and refresh the link, or maybe it's a Google page where the link automatically refreshes. So you can review it at any time. So come up with a time that works for you and your students, and don't worry about the deadline per se. You don't have to worry about the deadline. Just do it. If you can meet with them weekly, that's highly advisable. And use the Zoom link. We gave it to your campus for a reason. It's the same one that was shared. If you have previously set of fellows, it's the same link. So you all should be using it even after training.
There's a question that I'm not sure we answered about faculty champions, Christina. Faculty champions seeking grant support for the program and for the fellows and their subsequent projects going after they graduate. So yeah, we want you to, be like seeking sources of funding. That's great, like from any source really. So yeah. I don't know, Humera, if you want to add anything specific about that, or
I'm trying to find the question. Is it
towards the end?
It's towards the end.
Not the very last one.
Okay, so I don't really see it, but I'm gathering that the question is, I want to go seek resources to do stuff. Is that true?
How do you feel about faculty champions seeking grant support to get the UIF program and their subsequent projects going after they graduate?
Oh, we feel great about that. Absolutely. I mean, we would not have started this program if we didn't come to the realization that students are starting programs and courses in concert with you that can have a lasting impact on the institution. We hammer home to them that they should be picking projects that have that can achieve lasting institutional change. Now, it might look different from when they start it to when they pass it on to another set of students or to faculty or staff, but that's success to us, is that you've gone out and sought grant funding, alumni funding, some more sustainable source of funding. Their job is to prototype, experiment, and entrepreneurially get things started, show evidence of demand from the students, and show an impact on their learning. Your job, in concert with them, is to help that last. If it makes sense for the school, then resources will be there. So you bring the lens of documentation, surveys, collecting anecdotes, making sure that if there's a videographer on hand, there can be one, a press person, someone from the campus paper with a photo, a camera. Students don't necessarily know what they can call on, but you do. So, always look at it through the lens of sustaining and lasting change. And yeah, whatever resources you can find. And the Students Landscape Canvas is going to help you uncover new sources of potential dollars and stakeholders that you didn't even realize might be interested in funding this kind of stuff. So, yeah.
All right, so we're like 2 minutes over the time. We thank you all for being here. We're so excited to be working with you on this new cohort that we're launching. It's really exciting to have you as partners. Yeah, and looking forward to meeting in person those who we haven't met.
Yeah, one thing I'll say in closing is you should plan to come to the meetup. If you don't have a conference going on or something like that, if you've never been, you absolutely should plan on coming to the meetup. Just make sure your students are successful. If you've got only one, then just make sure that one is successful. If you've got 3, then at least one has to be successful, because if none are successful, we won't let you come to the meetup. We don't let you come solo, but plan for one of them to be successful, all of them to be successful, and come to the meetup. We're really building our capacity this year to allow us to accommodate many more of you. So that should be all of you, all close to 100 campuses.
Yeah. Thank you all for tuning in from all your different time zones. I know some of you it's very late and very early, so thank you all, and hopefully we'll see you all in March.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a great week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.